We've damaged our rope, have tied our damage isolating knot, and have determined to bail by rappelling off the route. How do we pass that knot on rappel? Well, maybe we don't have to. Hello, I'm Jason. Rockfall, a sharp edge, whatever the cause, we have damaged our rope. Best practice is to isolate that damage with a knot. I use an alpine butterfly, and we have a short that teaches a way to tie that knot, which you can find via a link in the description. Now though, we have a knot that cannot run through our rappel device. So if we need to rappel or abseil off our objective, we now need to go through the time-consuming process of getting the rappel device from above the knot to below the knot. We have another video with another link in the description that teaches the traditional way of executing that technique. But actually, if we have damaged only one strand of a double-strand rappel, we can avoid the knot pass altogether. Here are 4 ways we can move to a single-strand rappel, which will allow us to use the undamaged strand as our rappel strand and the damaged strand as a non-load-bearing pull strand. The catch is that we are going to trade off levels of security at the rappel for the risk of getting the rope caught when it becomes time to pull the rope down to us. The most secure of these techniques is the Reepschnür Hitch. To form this hitch, we find the middle mark as per usual. Then on the damaged pull strand side, we add another bite knot. Then we add a locking carabiner to that bite knot and clip it around the rappel strand. Let's also make sure our gate is facing away from the face. Now we have a system that will lock up around the rappel point when we weight the rappel strand. So we can safely descend on the one good strand without dealing with the damage isolating knot on the other strand. But when we pull the other strand, the system releases and we pull the carabiner block down. Like with any single strand rappel, we want to ensure our backup hitch has enough wraps, and we should test that hitch before heading down. The downside of this method is that it can catch when we pull our rope. We already have the damage isolating knot, but now we have a carabiner and its bite knot that can catch in cracks or other terrain. We also have a situation where all we need is the pull strand and the rappel strand to end up on opposite sides of a feature for the rope to get stuck, which is more likely on blocky terrain. We could potentially reduce the risk of having the pulled rope getting stuck by using only a knot block. In this case, we need a knot in the pull strand that is big enough to not pull through the rappel point. This removes the carabiner from the equation, so it can't get stuck. It also removes the issue with the pull strand and the rappel strand being on opposite sides of a terrain feature. We haven't gotten rid of all the additional rope pull risk though, as we have added the knot block, which can get stuck. We have also added some risk to the rappel security that we need to address. We need a small aperture rappel point so the knot cannot pull through. So we have another alternative, the double fix. In this case, we have the rope running through our rappel point, but then take the undamaged rappel strand and fix it to the anchor with a bite knot. Now the first person on our team can descend the fixed line without passing the damage isolating knot. When that person gets to the bottom, they are going to fix the damaged pull strand to a bottom anchor. This will allow the climber still above to undo the top fix and still rappel on the single undamaged strand. The bottom fix holds the rope in place. We haven't added any new knots or carabiners that can get stuck, but we have added in new risks. First, the first climber down better get the pull strand and rappel strand identified correctly. If they fix the wrong strand, the second person down is going to wait a line that will just pull the rope through the rappel point. We've also added in a more consequential need to communicate. The top person needs to know when the bottom rope is fixed. So line of sight, radios, or practiced and superb nonverbal communication is needed. Which leaves us with a fourth option, the equivocation hitch. For this technique, we begin by passing the middle of the rope through or around our anchor point. We now take a bite from one of these free ends and push it through the loop formed by the middle of the rope. Now we take a bite from the other free strand and push it through the loop we just created with the previous free strand. At that point, we cinch down the outer loop so that it grabs the inner bite. And we keep alternating strands. I have seen people do as few as 3 and as many as 7. The final bite we push through will be the pull strand. We want to make that bite at least 30 centimeters to avoid having it pull through. and we can add a carabiner through that last bite on the pull strand and clip it around the rappel strand as a backup. We remove the carabiner after everyone has gone down except the last person, who rappels on the strand that is pinching the last loop in place. We need to make sure to not apply force to the pull strand until everyone is down. But again, we've completed a single strand rappel that avoids needing to pass the damage isolating knot. Once we are down, we release the equivocation hitch by tugging the pull strand until we feel a pop. Now we switch and pull on what was the rappel strand, another pop. We keep alternating until we have pulled all the loops free. So, what have we done? First, we may have reduced our risk of getting our rope stuck. Yes, we still have the damage isolating knot as a risk, but now we don't have to pull the entire rappel strand up the full route, then back down, doubling the instances where it could get stuck. Although we do have a loop of rope falling from above, which is an increased risk. Second, we don't have the same risks as the double fix. We don't have to identify the pull strand and rappel strand from the bottom in order to fix the correct strand. We only do that at the top, which is the same level of risk as all the techniques. And we don't have as consequential of communication, just the same as any rappel, knowing when the first one down is off rappel. That being said, we clearly are adding in other risks. Better tie this right. Better not weight the pull strand by accident. I've used all of these methods. I more frequently will use the double fix for two reasons. I can mark the rappel strand by clipping my rappel tether to the rappel strand when I set off on rappel. That helps me ensure at the bottom I fix the correct strand. And I usually climb with a radio, so I'm able to effectively communicate with my climbing partner. That being said, a bottom anchor might not always be available, and while a bodyweight anchor is an option, it adds risk. If I'm not doing a double fix, then terrain and the likelihood of the rope getting stuck becomes a more significant factor in deciding between the other methods. Have you ever damaged a rope that you still needed to use?
Is that to the core?
Tell us your story in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and share if you want to support us. For more information, you can go to our website at www.shortguysbetaworks.com. You can watch a similar video on 3 different techniques to lower a climber for different circumstances, or maybe check out our entire rock climbing safety series. We'll see you next week and keep on getting more out of that big outside.